Stocks fall as investors assess household spending data out of Japan. The cost of wildfires in Los Angeles has exceeded $55 billion, with nearly 10,000 properties reduced to embers. And AI takes centre stage at the world's largest technology event. We'll have all the details. I'm Taiba Aydin with the latest business and finance news here on TRT World. Asian markets mostly fell on Friday as investors assessed November pay and household spending out of Japan. Real household spending fell 0.4% year-on-year in November, a softer fall compared to the 0.6% decline expected. The fall was also less than the 1.3% decline seen in October. And the average real income per household stood at around $3,250, up 0.7% from the previous year. Nikkei led losses in Asia, falling 1.02%, with the broad-based topics seeing a smaller loss of 0.68%. Heavyweight fast retailing lost as much as 7.8%, despite posting strong first quarter results. Meanwhile, China's central bank has decided to suspend treasury bond purchases temporarily due to short supply of the bonds. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index lost 0.47% after the announcement, after initially posting gains, while mainland China's CSI 300 was down 0.46%. For more, we're joined by Tim Waterer, who's Chief Market Analyst at KCM Trade. Good to have you with us, Tim. Now, what does all this data signal about Japan's recovery efforts?
Good to be with you. Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag today, so you can take different signals out of it depending on where you look. Now, if we take the spending data, yes, not as bad as expected, but still in negative territory. I guess on the positive side, we did see that uptick, as you mentioned, in average household wealth compared to 12 months ago. And if we just wind the clock back a couple of weeks, we did see a hotter reading on the Tokyo core CPI. So I think if we look at it, the data releases on the whole, I still think it keeps the Bank of Japan on track to raise interest rates this year, perhaps multiple times, which I think they'll be keen to do to take some pressure off the yen. So yeah, let's see how the inflation numbers pan out moving ahead. But I think today's numbers definitely keeps an interest rate increase from the BOJ in the frame in coming months.
And the Nikkei saw some notable losses led by fast retailing's drop. What factors are driving this market reaction despite strong earning reports?
That's right. So the Nikkei, dropping around 1% today, sort of got caught up a little bit in the broad-based selling, as you mentioned, across Asian markets there. So a bit of a risk-off day on markets, taking some risk off the table ahead of the payrolls figures in the US tonight. Fast retailing, that certainly wasn't in the good books of investors today, was it? I mean, I think that if we look at the stock performance in the past 6 months, it had been up 17%. So I think traders looked at the report today. Now, the headline figures, they weren't too bad, actually, as you alluded to. But the focus of stockholders seems to be on that weaker Chinese demand story, which was mentioned in the report. So I think investors looked at that and took an opportunity to lock in some profits after a pretty good performance by the stock over the past 6 months.
All right, Tim Waterer, we will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.
Now, there's no sign of any respite from the wildfires raging around Los Angeles. A new outbreak was reported a few hours ago as fire crews struggle to contain the biggest blazes. The latest count from officials is around 10,000 destroyed structures, and they say they're reluctant to give a death toll because it's expected to rise. The fires are being driven by high winds and worsened by extreme drought. All this as 2024 is confirmed as the hottest year on record. The EU's weather agency says the world has now crossed the climate threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. Now, let's get more on this with Ross Feingold. We have a package from Markovits.
It is now the most destructive fire in Los Angeles history. Around 180,000 people have been ordered to evacuate as the fires have destroyed land nearly the size of the entire city of San Francisco. Now entering its third day, officials warn it is unlikely to end anytime soon.
And I want to be very clear here as well. We are still under red flag warning with extreme fire behavior possibilities.
The hurricane-like winds even spread the fire to the Hollywood Hills, near the global hub of the movie industry. Luckily, the winds slowed and firefighters were able to contain the blaze. But other communities weren't so lucky. I'm standing in front of a house that has been completely destroyed by the Eden Fire in Altadena, about 15 kilometers north of Los Angeles. The flames have torn through this community, leaving many residents feeling that there's no hope for the future. Pacific Palisades resident Oliver Alnat said his, as well as his parents' home, were burned to a crisp.
The imagery of this is next level. It's shocking. I mean, I was down to my knees when I got up to my parents' house with just sheer amazement at what I was looking at, which was basically just a chimney stack and a pile of ash. I mean, it's something out of a movie.
The thick cloud of smoke and ash has also prompted air quality advisories across Los Angeles.
The particulate matter itself from these wildfires can cause some very serious issues, not just for people who have lung disease, but also people who have heart disease, the elderly, and small children.
President Biden has said that the federal government will cover 100% of disaster aid, which will be much needed as the fires burning across Los Angeles will likely cost an estimated $52 billion. Martin Markovits, TRT World, Los Angeles, California.
For more on this, let's speak with Ross Feingold in Taipei. He's the former Asia chairman at Republicans Abroad. Good to have you with us, Ross. Now, aside from the human cost, just how much are the damages expected to cost, and how will the burden impact the region?
Well, according to estimates, the damages so far are 52 billion US dollars. So it's an enormous amount of money. Part of this then becomes political. What amounts is the state government willing to spend? What amounts is the federal government willing to spend? Federal aid plays an important role. It certainly plays an important role while this kind of crisis is ongoing and in the immediate aftermath, because federal aid goes for things like temporary housing, food for people who had to relocate, the cost of additional fire services coming there from other states, even from as far away as Canada. So both federal and state aid will play a crucial role, and it's going to be up to legislators and in the case of California, the governor. In the case of the federal government, it's going to be up to President Trump just how much money they're willing to spend to help Southern California rehabilitate after this crisis.
And beyond rebuilding homes, what will the recovery look like for local communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. At a minimum, they're going to look to rebuild homes and buildings with additional fireproofing so that it makes it more difficult for structures to burn down in the event of a fire. But there's going to be a lot of industries that clearly take a hit from this. One of the most important industries for the area, of course, is the filmmaking industry. So that's going to be disrupted. The tourism industry is crucially important for this part of California. So that's going to be disrupted as well. And other types of regular day-to-day commerce are certainly going to be disrupted as people are not in their homes, businesses are not operating. So it's certainly going to have a really drastic effect on the economy of Southern California, which is one of the most important economic centers of the United States.
Now, wildfires are nothing new to the region. What measures need to be put in place to avoid such disasters in the future?
Well, certainly early warning systems play an important role, a sufficient water supply, and that's something that's come up repeatedly in the last few days. It's clear that the size of the crisis put a big stress on the water supply. And there have been a lot of news reports about how firemen hooked up their hoses, but then there was insufficient water supply because of the stress on the water supply system caused by so many firemen across the region trying to access water through fire hydrants, which are typically along the roadsides. So in addition to early warning systems, the water system is going to be something that I think is going to get a lot of consideration as well. And also insurance, it remains to be seen how much the insurance companies are going to have to pay back, and then going forward, are they still going to be willing to offer this kind of insurance, fire insurance, to homeowners and businesses in the region? Some insurance companies might say, we're not going to offer this insurance company, and then that's going to be an issue that needs to be addressed. We often see that with hurricane-prone areas in the United States, where the insurance market takes a big hit as well, and then insurance companies are no longer willing to offer insurance, and then the government needs to step in with some kind of structure for future insurance needs.
All right, Ross Feingold, former Asia chairman at Republicans Abroad, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, a quick look at some of the other top business stories from around the world. Shares in Sunac China plunged as much as 29% after the company reportedly received a winding up petition. It's the latest in an ever-growing list of developers struggling with the crippling debt crisis that has gripped China's real estate sector. Earlier this week, reports emerged that the company was unlikely to meet a September maturity bond deadline as part of its restructuring process. A group of authors have accused Meta of using pirated books to train its AI systems with approval from CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Court papers allege the company used the LibGen dataset containing millions of pirated books distributed via torrent networks. The lawsuit adds to the growing legal challenges over AI's use of copyrighted materials. Argentina has paid $4.3 billion to bondholders, its largest repayment since the 2020 debt restructuring. The move has surprised many investors who doubted the country could avoid another debt crisis, especially with significant debts due in 2025. This marks a major success for President Milei, as Argentina's notoriously unstable economy has defaulted or restructured its sovereign debts 3 times this century. And Fox Corporation, the parent company of Fox News, has lost its bid to throw out a $2.7 billion defamation lawsuit filed by electronic voting company Smartmatic. A New York appeals court ruled that Smartmatic provided sufficient evidence to allege Fox was responsible for broadcasting misinformation around the 2020 presidential election. The case is set to proceed to trial unless settled out of court. The world's largest technology show has once again been wowing geeks and anyone interested in technology. And as the world's most powerful tech event wraps up, Nicholas Morgan wraps up what we'll all be enjoying in tomorrow's world.
From AI-powered devices to gaming innovations, the Consumer Electronics Show, CES to everyone here, is the annual event where you come to peer into the future. It's a dreamland for tech lovers.
It's actually pretty amazing. It feels like I might be a little behind in technology, just seeing the new innovation and amazing stuff that's coming out in gaming, TVs. It's wild. It's actually kind of crazy.
This year's CES in Las Vegas features over 4,300 exhibitors, showcasing innovations in everything from AI and quantum computing to wearable tech. And then there's things like the Land Aircraft Carrier, a modular flying car created by a Chinese startup. It's designed to soar above traffic. The makers say it could prove invaluable for emergency teams. As California battles wildfires, some tech at CES aims to tackle future blazes. Crucial for early wildfire detection is plotting fire locations on a map. The Delphi camera uses satellite images to give a clear view of a blaze and then signal the fire's anticipated direction. And meet Jenny, a robotic puppy bringing smiles to the conference halls. She's designed for people with Alzheimer's and dementia who can't care for a real pet in daily life. With advanced technology, Jenny avoids repetitive behavior, keeping interactions fresh and engaging.
These puppies are designed to treat the behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia, reduce the need for certain medications, including psychotropics, and we aim for them to be the first FDA medical devices.
And the winner of the Best of Innovation Award in Accessibility and Age Tech was the BioLeg, a robotic prosthetic knee designed to transform life for amputees. It uses sensors and motors for real-time movement, offering natural mobility.
I got my right leg amputated when I was 9 years old. I used some traditional passive one. It was very challenging for me, so that's the reason why I designed this product. It's a new different one. It changed my life.
But not everything is going smoothly in the tech industry. US President-elect Donald Trump's plans to impose steep tariffs on imports is raising concerns.
Trump's new tariffs are going to come into the market probably this year. And in the tech industry, you're not going to see a major impact because a lot of the technology are based on software and artificial intelligence. Tariffs are not going to affect software. They're really going to affect the hardware. We're going to see products in the technology industry raising costs potentially for the consumer.
Despite these challenges, CES remains a beacon for innovation. Companies use the show to reveal solutions that could shape the future. As it wraps up for another year, attendees are leaving with a clearer view of how next-gen technologies and AI will shape our lives. Nicholas Morgan, TRT World.
For more on this, we're joined by technology journalist Chris Stoker-Walker, who's in Newcastle in the UK. So, Chris, what have been the most exciting technologies showcased at this year's CES that have caught your eye?
I think we've seen an awful lot of them and different types as well. We saw just at the end of that package by Nicholas a humanoid robot. They are some of the key things that we've seen in CES this year that have been really innovative, but also we've seen things such as televisions and I imagine gadgets that you would see in your home in the next few years being released that are really valuable. But I think overall, this has been the year of AI for CES, which I know has been really important for many of the awards that have been given out, and I think that will have a transformative effect on all of our lives.
And how are innovations like the ones we just heard about addressing real-world challenges?
Yeah, we heard about the Delphi camera. We heard also about the BioLeg, both valuable, importantly, really valuable parts of our society right now. We've obviously talked about, for instance, the wildfires raging over California right now. That makes that ever more pressing to be able to identify them, something that the Delphi provides a solution for. Similarly, the BioLeg, we know that more and more people are becoming amputees for various reasons, and I think that the kind of innovations that we've seen in nanotechnology and the ability to power these devices has really helped. So they will have a really important effect on people's quality of life in terms of people who unfortunately have lost limbs being able to actually operate and live in many ways like we all do.
And with concerns over tariffs, how might the cost of hardware impact consumers and the pace of technological innovations?
This is, of course, the big unknown. We are 10 days away from Donald Trump taking power in the White House, and we know that he has said he wants to slap tariffs on many, many countries around the world. China is effectively the factory of technology for the entire planet, and we understand that that is in the crosshairs of Donald Trump. So I imagine that we will start to see perhaps a trade war, and of course nobody will buy these technologies if they are not affordable. The worry, of course, is that they are going to be put up in price because of this sort of trade war that we see looming over the horizon.
All right, Chris Stoker-Walker, we will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced he's stepping down from office. The news comes after internal pressure from within his Liberal Party as the country prepares for federal elections in October. Emma Boz takes a look at the state of Canada's economy under the outgoing Prime Minister.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader.
For many investors, these words from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau came as a surprise. And soon after, Canada's main stock market index fell, reacting to the news. His policies to get Canada's economy up and running again have had some mixed results. Some have lost faith in his decisions.
I think there was a general loss of confidence within the party, but also within Canadians. So I'd say it's a good thing, and it would be a good idea to start again and see how we can improve things for Canadians.
It's better he resigned, and now they can get a leader in that maybe more people nationally will support him.
Canada's economic growth has been lackluster since 2023, dipping to negative growth in the third quarter of that year. Despite recovering, the growth rate fell to 0.3% in the third quarter of last year. One of the reasons for the decline in Trudeau's last year is because of his more aggressive economic stance. The Canadian Central Bank increased interest rates, peaking to over 20-year highs at 5%. This has increased the cost of borrowing, making it more difficult for consumers to spend. And as demand falls, so too does production. It was all in an effort to reduce any demand-driven inflation. Since the beginning of last year, inflation has been on a downward trend, falling to 1.9% in November. Despite the hawkish policies, the central bank only recently reached their 2% inflation target. This has made consuming even harder, pushing household debts to an all-time high of $2.5 trillion in the third quarter of last year. And another factor slowing Canada's economy is a fall in export profits. The country is heavily reliant on natural resources such as oil, natural gas and minerals. But falling global commodity prices has reduced Canada's revenues. Canada's trade balance hit 9 consecutive months of a trade deficit. And currently, over 70% of Canada's exports goes to the US. But with the coming of US President-elect Donald Trump and his America First policy, analysts fear a rise in tariffs for Canada's exports. And if this happens, Canada's economy may see stagnant growth for years to come. Emre Boz, TRT World.
Now, Friday marks the day Ethiopia is opening its stock market for the first time in over 5 decades. It's a dramatic shift for a nation long defined by a closed financial system. The initial step is modest but significant. The government is floating a 10% stake in Ethio Telecom, one of Africa's largest mobile operators. This initiative is part of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's broader push to open up the economy of Africa's second most populous nation. Over the next 4 years, Ethiopia aims to secure up to $27 billion in financing and investment from partners including the IMF, World Bank, China and the UAE. Indonesia is cautiously optimistic that a flagship program from its new president Prabowo Subianto will tackle its crippling child malnutrition problem. The multi-billion-dollar free meal initiative aims to feed more than a quarter of the country's population by 2029, although experts are wary of its ambitious scale. Amar Bakalola reports.
When President Prabowo Subianto took office in October, he pledged to prioritize the interests of the people over those of specific groups. Among his key commitments was making Indonesia self-sufficient in food and energy, with a focus on improving everyday lives. Now, that promise is beginning to take shape. The government has launched a $4.3 billion free meal program to tackle malnutrition, a significant step towards combating stunted growth among children. The initiative, a cornerstone of Prabowo's election campaign, aims to provide nutritious meals to school children, toddlers, and pregnant women across the country.
Today, we've kicked off the program gradually in 109 locations for 570,000 people, and this will keep increasing. By the 1st or 2nd of March, we aim to be serving in 937 locations for at least 3 million people.
The scale is groundbreaking. By 2029, it's expected to deliver free meals to nearly 83 million people, more than a quarter of the country's population. Schools and kitchens nationwide are already mobilizing to meet this target.
The allocated 62 US cents per meal is only for the food cost, which is for the rice, main dish, vegetables, and side dishes such as fruit or milk. So the budget is enough to procure meals that meet the standards.
A plate of rice, chicken, vegetables, and a banana is more than just a meal. It's a chance to learn and grow.
We do hope that this program will have positive effects on the academic performance of these children, because this program will fulfill the children's basic nutrition needs. For instance, the standard nutrition and calorie needs for elementary school children here will be covered by the meals.
While the program holds the promise of a healthier future, challenges loom. Critics warn about the need for better oversight and sustainable funding, as sustaining such a large-scale initiative will test the country's resources in the years to come. Ömer Bakkaloğlu, TRT World.
Now, vast megacities in science fiction movies and books may soon become science fact, if companies such as Toyota have anything to do with it. The first phase of their sci-fi concept city, where the latest smart devices assist residents to build a new future, has just reached completion. Pinar Nishasta has the details.
From autonomous drones to flying cars, a bold vision in Japan is now one step closer to reality.
Located at the base of beautiful Mount Fuji in Japan, Woven City is more than just a place to live, work, and play. Woven City is a place where people can invent and develop all kinds of new products and ideas.
Phase 1 is now complete, and it will host its first residents later this year. Toyota officials say the systems have already been trialed to integrate drones, interactive robots that assist the elderly, and personal mobility devices like wheelchairs and race bikes.
I believe Toyota has a responsibility to invest in our collective future, to share what we've learned with others, and support new ideas that benefit the planet and its people.
Only low to zero emission and autonomous vehicles are allowed. The project will also invest in reaching for the stars, in collaboration with Japanese startup Interstellar Technologies. Toyota says it does not expect to make any profit out of the Woven project, instead focusing on building the future of mobility. Pinar Nishasta, TRT World.
Well, that's all your business news for now. Thanks for watching. The Newsmakers is next.